Are we live? Let me check out the sound.
Are we live?
Okay, my sound is okay. I always have one watching. Interesting. Is it me or is it somebody else? That's not very well explained, but whatever. Interesting things happening out there. Mr. Trump going to the United Nations completely making an hate speech using the nuclear threat. They love to bring the fear porn once again back to the game. And today, I think it was the Prime Minister of North Korea came to the United Nations, and he spoke about an interesting thing. They were blocked of sending a satellite to space. They are being blocked of using or of having access to space. Very interesting. Why shouldn't they put satellite to space? United Nations could, um, how do I say it? Um, what's the word? Control it, like supervise it. Yes, that's the word. They could supervise it to see it's only probably satellite communications or something like that, and could allow them to launch a satellite, which is very interesting. Like Libya was also wanting to send a satellite, the first African satellite to space. Unfortunately, he didn't finish his mission. Like also bringing the water to the rest of Africa, like he was trying to do, but unfortunately, the American people allowed their troops to go there and destroy everything. How unfortunately. And now we have this eighth campaign of neo-Nazism, fascism, communism, and a lot of stuff. But what I see most focus is the demonization of neo-Nazism, which, if you do a little bit of research, you're going to realize that Germany, between 1933 and 36, was able to revive from the depression, establish an economy, gave wealth to his people, jobs, and everything else. And nobody wants to talk about it. How did he do that? How did they bring a country that we was, for example, if you want to buy a piece of bread, you had to bring a case full of money to buy a single bread. That's how was Germany at that time and its inflation. How did that man accomplish that amazing um, recuperation? It's You can look it up, research it, and see that what's happening. Germany workers were traveling around the Europe having vacations in the 36. Meanwhile, the rest of the world was falling for the depression caused by the beloved banksters. The banksters love to create inflation and basically rob us money. What's That's the main purpose of banking, robbing people's money. No wonder the Bible talks about that part where Christ enters the temple and the kicks out the Pharisees, which the Pharisees are very well connected to the Jewish. The Jewish people love the business world. Some, I believe, are honest, but many of them just want to be powerful and control, like being superior to the other people, and not by intellect, but by smartness. And that's interesting that as soon as I start talking about Jews, people run away. Like I keep saying, I don't hate all the Jews. I don't hate anyone. I just look at their ideologies and their modus operandi, and it's very important to notice that. No wonder some things are very demonized. Do I believe in Christ? I believe there was a person that the Bible calls Christ that was awakened, that was illuminated by God. Yes, that's my way of viewing Christ. Was a person that was very well connected to God because he learned to do it. There have been evidence of Christ traveling around the world, even being in Tibet. So Christ was learning something. There's a lot of missing history of Christ in the books, and that missing history was his awakening, his learning how to connect to God. That's why all of them are trying to do us to step us away from that path to getting connected to God. And they must use truth with lies altogether. That's why I keep thinking the Bible is not 100% truth. If it was, would be already connected to God, and we are not. Look at the world; we are getting more and more disconnected with it. And as I see, religion is a bigger part of it. It creates a lot of division because of instead of people focusing on the creator basis and try to understand how the creator found our heart. So if we don't have proper knowledge of where we are, we'll never be in touch with God. The Bible has some truth in it. That's not questionable of it. But not all of it is true. Mostly the parts where they provoke your fear. You should only fear God, not all the stuff they bring there. And the problem is that God is everywhere. It's all around us. It's inside us. God is. We are God's vessel. We are carrying His own energy, His own light. Never question why everything that you burn emits light. Oh, any part of the Bible. Let me dig up my brain cells and see if I can find anything. Now, that's a tough question. I would need to be prepared to talk about it more if I dig up the Bible a little bit. But I assure you, it's not 100% truth. If you look at the Bible with your heart, some parts will not resonate with you, but others will resonate for sure. Even Bart Siebel made his latest video talking about this phenomenon of this day where the sun will be on top of Aquarius and the moon on his feet. Nothing happened. But all around the world, nature is telling something by this epic phenomenon of two tornadoes, two hurricanes, not tornadoes, hurricane water formed together, doing a lot of damage on the America and Mexico earthquake and a lot of stuff going around the world. People are being punished by nature. Don't you question that? That's very important for us to look. Meanwhile, the mainstream media is working on your fear. That's their major tool, fear. And God doesn't want you to fear. Only Him, as He expressed Himself on nature, His creation. They could be manipulating something to make it more even worse. They love chaos. They could be taking advantage of the situation because they know how to manipulate the weather. They know how this thing works. Like for example, that metal that melts in your hand, gallium. Where do you think that metal is coming from? I believe it's coming from Antarctica. It's a frozen land, so that metal is solid. It's more logical to understand that metal coming from that place only. And why are they digging that metal out? It could be something that is needed for our planet, which Flat Earth continues to question about this shape. That's unfortunate because they could never lie about the the shape or form, which is spheroid. They could be lying about being a perfect sphere or a oblate spheroid or pear-shaped or whatever, but they could never lie of his form. And they keep trying to use light to try to prove a point. Light follows nature, and nature, look at nature, everything grows in a Fibonacci ratio. So light must be also Oh, of course, that's how they want us to keep questioning. But I see the biggest problem here is that they don't want people that are making good questions to be connected to others. That's the major problem here. Because YouTube, all I see is stupid videos getting viral, a lot of drama. I see good entertainment, of course. YouTube should have some good entertainment. But the real question and looking for answers is very stupid. And I cannot fight the stupid. Nobody can fight the stupid. It will only become stupider. So that's no point in fighting stupid. But we should look at those countries that prosper where every everyone else on the rest of the world was completely even doing cannibalism. And what I found out is that um, he gave up on the gold standard for money and starting using labor, which I keep talking about it. And interesting that lately I found a video talking about it, how we exchange the gold standard for labor standard and how we prospered on it. It's very interesting. I need to dig up more on that. That's why they keep demonizing the national socialism, which brings up the individualism, which is very important, but also powers the community to be more together, as no one will be forgotten. And we live in a society that the smart persons are controlling everything, and the smart persons have some strange ways of getting entertained. As I realized that pedophilia, I think that's how it says in English. It's everywhere around. I saw an interesting investigative journalism of an English lady talking about a case where the children were talking about a lot of horrendous stuff and how that case was dismissed and the mother was called loony and whatever. So all of this is coordinated by psychopaths. No wonder the world is the way it is. People just love materialism. They just love stuff. I love stuff. I want a lot of stuff around me because I want to be empty inside. And that's the evil way of going. I don't believe the Satan. The Satan, you could be Satan if you start doing evil stuff. And you could be Christ if you start being like Christ. That's simple. That's the teachings of Christ. Everybody talks about his teachings, which are not complete, which they just put what fits their purpose, because I believe there's a lot of more that Christ would have to teach us. But Satan is real if you want it to be real. Like space, if you want it to be real, it can't be real, but a lot of scientists out there are saying otherwise. Like Tesla, for example. Tesla stated obviously that space has no properties. And what does he mean by saying that? And Tesla was a bright and out of time person. No wonder a lot of things that we use today was based on his knowledge and findings and experiments. Satan is a human creation. I accept your opinion, but I'm sticking to mine because clearly the Bible states one thing: you will look fearless at all the evil stuff that will appear on the news and every stuff like that. That's what God wants you to be fearless of humans. You only have to fear Him, and by Him, you have to fear nature because when nature speaks, well, you know what happens. She she speaks loud, like God spoke loud when He created all of us. Unfortunately, people just like to be entertained by the drama, others people's lives, celebrities that are empty inside. They are surrounded by stuff, and people just love to continue to follow people that love stuff instead of loving people. Because Christ loved his people. Christ didn't love stuff. Christ was unmaterialistic. Christ didn't have anything. Where does it state? I was talking about money. Well, money is that concept that should be used by exchange of things, as you stated. Well, they steal when they put interest on that money because they are creating money out of nothing. That's the major problem. This money is coming out of nothing. They put it out and put interest on it. So the robbing here is the interest they put on it, and they basically are putting 9 times out of 10 the money they receive in as speculation interest. So basically, that's not uh, a, a complete robbery. Can we have an experiment? Sure. I love experimentation. It brings us closer to reality. Want to join in on the Hangout? Give me a private message so I can give you the link and we could have a conversation here. It's always good to have someone else to talk and change ideas. Okay, let me pick up my link. Copy. Did you send the private message already? Can produce everything we want. Well, I believe so. The the ancient ruins out there are giving us an humongous clue that they could fabricate rocks as they put them so tightly together. Even today, we cannot do that astounding achievement. So I believe the once in a long time ago we were smarter than we are today, but someone wanted us to become stupid as we are today. We are so stupid today. Even I look at myself. Can you do everything do survive? Huh? We have the major problem is energy. The energy. Oh, now I have a bunch of questions. Good. I love questions. First, how can I do? You can do everything to survive. No. Well, if you can live in a survival mode, but you are energy dependent. You can live on alternative energies. Like I seen a guy creating a generator using a river and some other stuff, but I believe there's an cleaner and easier way to achieve energy, like the space we see up there working. So that's what they don't want us to know. That's why we live on a concentrated population because we need electricity, and they use that advantage on us. So, how does an object that is 2,000 miles wide live in a shadow only 17 miles? Yeah, that's an awesome question. I even made a video question why the ISS that is out of the supposed on the supposed outside of the supposed atmosphere that is creating all this amplifiement and refraction and compression and whatever. They could have pointed up the camera and they didn't do that. So they are actually hiding something up there. That's what I keep saying. NASA will lie about space properties, not about the Earth properties. Only space, because they know that space is only whatever. So mostly not as that hugeness they say about. You don't need milk. It's coming more and more proven that milk doesn't do you any good. I started eating milk was when I was a kid. I even hated my mother's milk, and I'm here. I'm alive. I'm 40 years old, and I even the smell of milk gets me sick. And I'm seeing scientists prove that we don't need milk. Actually, we'll uh, almond milk or coconut milk is even better for us than actual milk. We cannot process the calcium that it's coming from the milk and many nutrients out there on the milk. So that's another lie of the industry. We are not being fed properly, but out there are the good things. That's what Hitler did. Hitler started producing. in order to have exchange. So he spend his money on technology, and that way he started to make exchange with you. Well, of course I cannot produce a computer by myself. I'm not a genius, man. I'm just here question things. I can build. I build my computer. I can buy the parts and build it by myself. Today it's very simple. It's even a 6-year-old child can build a computer. Blue with blue, red with red. It's so simple now. Try build a computer when I built my first 500 megahertz PC when it was a slot, not a processor, a socket processor. It was a PCI socket to use the CPU. Very interesting CPU. And the connections. Oh my God, those connections were crazy, man. To figure out the even to the reset and power button. Yes, I think that's what he was creating on. You can produce a computer, all the parts. The problem is that you don't have uh, all the resources. You at the moment you need China to build the computer, and Hitler at the moment he created everything on the country. That's a big difference, you know. Then that way you control the your own market and you create more jobs and more uh, trading services. Yeah, but continue on your example. So you produce a computer and I'm going to buy that computer. Okay. No, I'm trying to understand. So you produce product A and you produce product B and we exchange. Yes. Yes. If you have a place to create that market exchange where you expose the product and I expose the product and we create that exchange, or you can make it indirect directly. So go on. I always hated the economics class because they were teaching us how to make profit. To do this indirectly, we use money. Yes, money is a mean. The problem is the justification of the mean to now today is more they complicated it, you know, in order to create. the interest part, where the banks are living at our expenses. We work and they don't sweat a tear and have large quantities of money, like stockholders. I call them parasitic people, as they stuck to a company and expect, of course, and they do this to expect at the final year tons of profits without doing shit, just going to council meetings. Did you send me the private message? Don't you want to talk personally about it? No, you didn't send me no private message. Don't worry, I will accept your point of view. I'm not here to argue about it, anything. I really enjoy seeing other people's points of views. This is how we learn and connect the dots. How we could be reaching Christ conscience. But we have these horrible people controlling basically everything: the media, the politics, the radios, the news, even the shows you watch are all pickpocketed. Yes, that's the 9 of 10. No, you should they create 9,000 euros. It's the nine of the yes. That's why they love virtual money. That's why bitcoins and all that stuff is just another scam to inflate. That's that's their tool to use virtual money. But they have a problem if someone goes there and wants to withdraw all the money. They have no money. That's what was happening in 2008. The elite pull up the money out and bankrupt a lot of banks that were not following their agenda. Even here in Portugal, some banks went, and guess what? Who were the ones who have to pay the bailout? We, the taxpayer workers, had to pay for somebody actually robbing money. They robbed money that didn't exist and make him real out of other people's money. That's how it worked. Yes, they come to you or me, but um, buy our products using virtual money. Yes, that's stealing. Unless you own that money. For me, for example, if I go out there and buy something on the internet, I'm not stealing. I'm using my money that is represented on a virtual way to buy something. That's what is confusing people. They don't know the difference between real virtual and virtual. And there is more virtual than real virtual. And Europe fell, people fell in like candy on the Europe. Well, I didn't fell in because I wanted a referendum and didn't have one on Portugal. But instead, in the UK, they had people talking about the reality of the European community, European communist community, liberal communist community. Well, you can call it that also, but if you go present that way a case, you're gonna lose because in reality that's not 100% stealing. We can see it's stealing in our perspective, but if you want to present a case, it's not going to stick unless you have a lot of money and create your own inflation and then prove your point by seeing that money doesn't exist. Money is pure speculation and interest. That's why our countries in Europe are completely in debt. An interesting thing we see even our president of the republic comes out on a speech saying that it's good to invest on a certain bank. The interest rating is low, so it's very good to invest on that bank. And after this was prior 2008 when he made that speech. So a lot of people invested on that bank, and 2008 came and that bank. So a lot of people lost a lot of money. But guess what? That same president that came out and speak just put on his pockets about 39,000 euros on his pockets to his family. Very interesting. That guy is free now, still free. So it's good. We live in a world that is good to fool people and rob them in plain sight. Meanwhile, that guy that needs something to eat because his life is not going well, he's going to be in jail and persecuted and all that stuff. That, in theory, would work. What you say, you have a product, I have another product. We have an interest on an exchange, and we trade it. The problem is that people want to quantify everything. It's a major problem of people. So if I go to you and I bring a watermelon and you give me an apple, if I'm a greedy bastard, I'm going to look at your apple and I'm going to say, just one apple? At least give me the same quantity and size of it. You know what I'm trying to get it? That's going to bring a lot of confusion. That's going to be pretty well established. How is that measure? Basically, Hitler, what he did on the automobile industry, he cut all of the taxes on the industry of automobile. So he raised the working class. He gave cars to the people. That's how it works. It's on taxes. He also claimed that taxes are needed to sustain a government, which I believe it's correct. But the problem is that we have pro debt economies governments working. You should watch that Greek economy minister, what he says about. I forgot about his name, but I think in my playlists. Yes, I see what you want to be simple. The problem is that people tend not to be simple. They want to complicate everything. That's the problem. That's the major problem. And I don't know if you are watching All Around Flat. I see that you like to show the chemtrails, which now they are claiming that they are doing something in the skies. And I believe it's something electric based, as the components I see in those clouds, it's beryllium, it's lithium, it's aluminum. Those elements are also used in batteries and capacitors. So what I think they are doing there up there is concentrating the induction energy of the sun so that we don't burn, because they fucked up something, or God changed something. I don't know what it is, but something's not completely working correctly. So but you and me make an effort to produce our products. Do you agree? Yes, but we need to make this is called work. Yes, I love working. I've been working almost for 20 years, non-stop. Let's not use the Jew term. Let's use the Zionist term, which I think is more correct, because I believe not all the Jews are pro globalism. Let's speak that way. But the Zionists created the Freemasons, have the Jesuits, have the Illuminati. They created all those Gentile associations so that they could control everything, basically. Yes, the intermediary always has a win-win. You basically exchange, and if you are using, I think it's better because of all of this anti-Semitism. It's better to these fuckers of the Zionist tube. Let's not call it YouTube. Also, it's the Zionist tube. Don't get pissed. No, I don't believe I have anything of controversial enough to shut down my channel. My channel is so small compared to all the other channels. Well, but if you are a compulsive liar, I see that you starting to get a lot of views and a lot of subscribers. That's consistency on the Zionist tube. That's why I don't like to watch those popular videos. I know that's bullshit all around. You should, if you had the bullshit alert button, you shouldn't be listening to the guy speaking, basically. Popularity in this world is comes at a high price, or, or you are a good compulsive liar and actor, or else you are screwed. If you like jumping on others people's backs, that's the perfect world for you. But if you want to work hardly and have your money hardly earned, that's not the world for you because you are going to be always pointed out as being different. They produce money. They are the money makers. That's why I keep saying follow the money, find the phony. And all those YouTube channels out there questioning the wanting to be sponsored by Patreon when they don't have any, especially the truth channels, they don't have any proper truth awareness at the start, but they want you to follow them and give them money. Well, I can assure you one thing in my channel. I'm gonna never gonna ask about money. Well, they produce videos, Hollywood bullshit, transgenderism bullshit, LGBT bullshit, fake wars bullshit. They sponsor, well, they sponsor a lot of war industry. At least they produce armament. So they are stealing our money to make weapons to kill innocent people that were living in sovereign countries that didn't want anything to do with those Zionist banksters. That's the whole problem of this. And they are now taking advantage of this to bring mostly people that are not willing to have a sovereign life, and they are coming to our country to our countries in Europe to make confusion. If you look at videos out there showing how Sweden and other countries are dealing with this mass migration, it's very impressive. And now I listen that in my country there are coming a lot of students, as I saw in Sweden that multicultural diversity just brought more violence to schools and less graduates and less points in classification. Well, you could have, but I don't believe legally you have a legal point in there. It's way more complicated. We should, in order to prove that, we should be digging at every loan they make and find the source of that money and prove that that money is fabricated. There's a good way to track it, following the loans and following where that money is coming from. If you can prove that money doesn't exist, well, that's basically creating money of thin air, which is more than proven. Just look at global economics. Are they are miserable? So this thing of the shape of the earth, it's just another good distraction to keep people a little bit away from the real purpose, which is our countries, because it's clearly visible that America already suffered a multicultural diversity, which didn't follow quite well, as those multicultural segregated themselves apart from one another, but keep fighting between each other. They cannot live together. So America was already an excellent proof of multiculturalism fail, but yet the Zionists just want to corrupt Europe also, like they corrupted Africa long time ago. They screwed the most wealth and rich continent on the earth. Only at just at that equator line, the richness is overwhelming, but yet they want to keep the communist never ended. Communism is still present. Just look at capitalism. Capitalism is tied to communism. The individualistic way of thinking. And let's hope the American people be awakened now and see that this North Korea is bullshit. Something else is happening there that the media will not focus, of course. And I don't believe it's the nuclear bombs. Once again, God didn't give man that tremendous power. God is not a fool to give man such a power. Like I stated in another video, when I was looking at Nagasaki Hiroshima pictures, even if they stated that they triggered the bomb in the atmosphere to explain the lack of a crater, which I didn't found, but they cannot explain why the towers that I saw in factories and the chimneys, the tall chimneys that factories have, were intact at the nuclear blast, which for me is very interesting to see that selectivity of the nuclear blast. They it destroyed all the houses, but the chimney factories and the factories that were cement, they were not destroyed because mostly that those islands were built on wood. Well, the Soviet Union ended, but now it's a liberalistic democratic republic. So he basically didn't change to something better. Once again, they have a Putin to, well, the Bolshevik. Yeah, I know the Bolshevik were very, very. That's the real genocide, you know. The real genocide is there on the Bolshevik, where the Zionists once again were behind it and trigger all of those mass killings. Meanwhile, people that present like the lack of evidence on the what really happened on the Holocaust, those people are persecuted, arrested, and completely censored, which I found very interesting because truth fears no investigation. So by that phrase alone, they are completely trying to cover something because the Holocaust did happen, and it was triggered by the United Nations and the Americans as they went to Germany and did mass bombings even on those camps and stopped the supply of food and water to all Germany for weeks. So, of course, a country with lack of distribution of necessary means will starve to death, have disease, and start to not work properly. And that's what happened to Germany. Germany was starved to death. That's why we go to the camps and we see all those people that starved to death, died of typhus. That's the main reason of the Zyklon B that was used to kill the lice, not people. It's impossible to kill those numbers they keep speaking, even before the war on the journals. So, do you think they want to repeat that in Europe? Huh, it's already happening. They need to use terror to start Soviet Union. So they will need terror to start communist Europe. Yeah, you are sure of that. And what is happening? These supposed terror attacks. This last one on the UK, I have big doubts on that supposed terror attack because they show us footage of a plastic bucket burning a little bit, and they say that that thing exploded. Wait a minute, plastic is metal now; it doesn't break, and even the surroundings of that package bucket doesn't get burned or smoked or whatever. And that person that lives with that handkerchief attached to her head, it's hilarious. So that London, this latest London attack, it's very dubious, at least. But yeah, they need to keep people on the fear control. Fear lowers your frequency, and you need to be in higher frequency to be really more happy. You could be happier with less than with more. Just look at the famous people. They have a lot, but they are not happy. You, United Nations Army, European Army. Oh yeah, I heard about it. It's to replace NATO. They want to kill NATO. They know NATO is bullshit. They can do almost everything, you know. Did you listen to that guy on the European Parliament? That video that I posted the link. You listen to the truth of that guy. He spoken the truth. If you remove the international banks out of Africa and bring back the people there to rebuild their countries, everybody will live happily and no more wars and everything. This is just the Zionist role to bring great Israel that wants bits and parts of Syria, Iran, Egypt. They want a bigger state, so can bring all the people they want in there. Yes, very similar, except for the restrictions on freedom of speech and the people oppression that is not yet started. That's more difficult to impose these days. There's more information. So they use these fake manifestations of left winged and right winged and extremists that they are paid to go and provoke, cause chaos and destruction. You shouldn't believe the media by now. You shouldn't be watching TV. Like the religion I was in, they were very correct on that. And one thing the Jehovah's Witness wins on the Catholic is that they are anti-materialism and idolizing idols, which I found very good, which the Catholic doesn't follow. They use a lot of ornaments and materialism, and that's not the way Jesus expressed himself. So they are contradicting Christ's teachings, and nobody questions that in the Catholic Church. That's very interesting not to talk about the Vatican. The Vatican and those basements full of knowledge. They have the knowledge, they know everything. Who has the knowledge has the power. Less stage before terror because an army is going to use to do terror. Well, I'm using an army to cause terror. I cannot visualize a way of that working without bringing serious questions on it. The only way they were dealing with this until now is creating false arguments. For example, Libya, they started well, of course, but the main source of Catholicism, the Vatican, because I see very independent Catholic people that have a different speech, which I resonate with some of them. But the basis of Catholicism is wrong, very wrong. I remember going to a congress at the Jehovah's Witnesses, and at lunch break, We had we choose our foods. We didn't give any money exchange at the trading. We just pick the food, but at the end we have some casings where we could put the money we thought the money was worth. So I found that idea very interesting and very good, using your empathy to pay for your things. But once again, people ruin the religion because, unfortunately, the corrupt ones always get on top. I don't know why, but this is the the current role of things. The most corrupt, the most liars are the ones on top. By the way, Pope Francis is a Jesuit, so he's very well attached to the Zionists. Even accepted the aliens ideology. Where are the aliens spoken of in the Bible? The Bible only speaks of fallen angels, and fallen angels are not aliens. They could be the giants that brought knowledge once back again. So I have this major question: is knowledge and technology really good for us, or is it going to be our destruction, like it happened to other cultures in the past? Because we don't really know how did they disappear, but they left a trail, and their trail is still now very not well explained, and a lot of theories around it. Like even our own Earth has theories around it. But which is interesting as we look at all these theories. All these theories, there is a little bit of truth in it. One thing I agree with all the flat earthers, it is the Earth is motionless, which there isn't any experiment out there until today that proves the Earth's motion in space according to the heliocentric model. But according to the geocentric, it works perfectly. A motionless Earth, a static Earth, like the Bible also talks about it many times. And that's why flat earthers and concave earthers will never talk about geocentrism. The guy that is proposing the geocentrism, the Christ conscience syndrome guy, Stephen, talked about the principle, the movie, shortly, and not focusing the correct points. Of course, how appropriate not focusing the correct points. So this is YouTube state. Not everyone will try to focus the correct points. And now I find interesting. People come here in my channel and start talking, the earth is flat, this and that. Doesn't bring one single evidence. But as soon as I state something, where is your evidence? Where's your proof? Where is this? Where is that? Very interesting. So selfish. I see that they are so selfish. It was screwed. Why was I screwed? I enjoyed some aspects of it, but I didn't enjoy the people that were there. Because people are very fake, and the more religions I see people, the more they have to hide inside something. Some terrible secret they are hiding behind the the religion, because religions allows you to sin, because it's very possible. Oh, I believe the two only working models is geocentrism and heliocentrism. But heliocentrism has some problems, and geocentrism has some good fittings in it. That's why it's a very well ignored model. And many people that were talking about it stopped talking about it till when 2012. Yeah, it's stupid, but it has the same way of calculating the distances and the paths and all that stuff. It calculates and predicts everything as the heliocentric, and so that's their major problem. Even they use geostationary calculations to pull up the rockets into low orbits because we cannot go further than low orbit. The radiation will kill all organic things up there, besides being very cold. Will defy the known laws of physics. I can guarantee you that. No wonder they are using liquid helium on CPUs and call them quantum computers. They just love to put the quantum word on everything. They are basically using space properties, liquid helium, to uh, well, I cannot really state for sure that that is true because heliocentrism as I'm still trying to figure out uh, because the heliocentrism has a problem. It can fit a large universe or a small universe if the light is bending. Because if the light is bending, which there are proofs out there of light bending, and space not having any properties, makes me believe that light is only a property of the low orbit Earth, the so-called luminiferous ether that gives us the illumination, not light. We don't know what light is. Nobody knows what light is. We only know illumination, how to create illumination. And I surely believe that light works in a spiral way, a Fibonacci spiral way of propagation, like we see on the toroids and the magnetic stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there about geocentrism that should be approached by proper people that can work on that, because I'm not the appropriate person to do that. I'm not a genius. I just unswitched my bias because I've been biased twice and I don't want to be biased three times. So I'm sticking to the actual model, which is the retarded twin brother, as I call it, of geocentrism. Because I look up there and I actually don't see a 93 million miles sun away, a physical ball of plasma, not plasma, what they call him, hydrogen and some other elements. The sun is dielectric induction. We have electric induction, as we see in the stoves we use and the ovens that are electric induction. They use electricity to create the dielectric induction on the metals. And we have magnetic induction. And infiltration. There has always been infiltrations in the Catholic community. Because what people tend to forget is the people you see exposed to you as the leader, 99% of the time is not the real leader. It's just a puppet. Because the real leaders, those guys will not be televised, news, or whatever. Those guys are in the shadow. Those guys don't get in the perturbation. Those guys are very smart. Uh, they are being infiltrated by Zionists. Communism is a Zionist tool. It's human creation, a mentality of capitalism. And basically, that's what we are living now. Science is a huge topic. Indeed, science is a complete bullshit now. We have wackos talking about bullshit. Where in the hell did a so-called scientist in, let's call it 100 years back in time, would be calling himself theoretical physicist? What the fuck is that name, man? Theoretical. Theoretical is theory. It's not proven. It's an assumption, which by now science manipulated the definition of theory, which they call now it's a composition of experiments and assumptions that bring up the theory. But they don't forget that assumptions and deductions should be repeated over and over to reach a scientific fact. set a Christ set a church and put his pope on top of it. I see these establishments of so-called religion teachings nothing more than evil establishments. At the moment, there are not one single actual real scientific method working at the moment in science. Science made I completely lost interest in science when I was in school just because of the bullshit they were trying to put on me because of gravity. And gravity is nothing more than acceleration, magnetic induction working. That's simple. But they want to complicate everything. Once again, the humans want to complicate everything. But now, what should people be focusing on? I think people should be focusing on exposing this elite once and for all, like Hitler was starting to do. No wonder the Jews create such a demonic vision of that person, which was a vegan guy, loved animals, was a simple guy, doesn't add a lot of stuff. So everything I see demonized by society, I just want to look twice at it and basically look at it unbiased. The retroductive induction is very good to use here. But the problem is that he was working alone, and by that, and only by that, just look at the time he could hold on just with his people by his side. How many years did the war take to end? That's a point you should look at, see how the power of the people can do to a nation, because that wasn't Hitler alone, it was his people, and it shows that his people was on its side. So, or were they all brainwashed? It's impossible to brainwash a nation completely unless you tell them a lie, but a lie only will influence you on a certain aspect, but will not bring you happiness. The only way an happy population is by having a job, good salaries, a good life, freedom. That's the only way I see people actually going after his government. They did the the inside of the earth is another good story. That's why they just focus on the Antarctica, which is, I believe, it's closed. Just look at nature and look at the fruits. The fruits have a north and south pole also. And normally the South Pole is closed and the entry point of nutrients and all the stuff is on the top. The only way you can brainwash entire nation is to give them a good life, or because you can only brainwash on expats happening outside of his nation. And he didn't do that. And at his speeches, he was telling the truth. You just have to look at his speeches, and he was telling exactly what is happening now. The banking controlling everything, the media, the movies, everything is controlled, and he was talking about it. Once again, you talk about occultism. And what if I say it was natural science that he was researching? No wonder he technologically burst when he started to use natural science. Once again, it's the media creating a false image just for you to not look at it. Unbiased. Hitler started creating missiles also, and submarines. Where did that technology came from? And all those people that were there. So not all of science is well thought. Well, he was a national socialist, so he was pushing his people forward of other people, but he didn't despise other races. You just look at the Olympics and that black athlete, American black athlete, at the Olympics in Germany, Hitler didn't show any racism there, but instead in America, he was completely ignored. So, who was the racist? That alone contradicts a lot. Like even when Trump was uh, disputing for presidency, they put a lot of videos out there trying to show racism on them. The control opposition campaign, and that guy never was a racist. I never saw racism, in him on his shows, The Apprentice. But he's also a puppet. Since he was telling the truth at the moment, the Germans were the most wealth and successful nation at the moment. So he was not telling a lie. And that's how you encourage people. Bring up their individuality in a community. That's how it works. Trump is a puppet. Another puppet with more drama attached to it. Washington Zionists, Wall Street Zionists, Israel Zionists. Why does he want a war? Why does he want to go back to Afghanistan, opium wars, once again, is just another puppet. But this time they were more clever. They create more drama to fool people on thinking that he was the solution because Hillary Clinton was so burned already. They needed to make him more plausible. Those were the two worst candidates in the United States until now. And now in my country, they are running for what's the word? Cameras. Well, we have some small elections for the regions. And guess what? The Communist Party has the oldest two candidates of all the rest of the candidates. It, isn't that hilarious? It's like they already know that communist is going in, so they don't even bother using some effort in using younger candidates on the Communist Party. Very funny. Venezuela is getting close to be bankrupt. Well, Venezuela, that's an interesting um, country because I'm trying to figure it out who's telling the truth, who is not. And it's very difficult to figure it out because I see more disinformation than proper information. Because Maduro is telling the speech that many told about that is getting rid of international banking. That's why the sanctions. America just love to sanction. Basically, it's not America, it's Israel and the Zionist guys that are working there. Pulling the strings. I can guarantee you the guys that are really pulling the strings are living in Israel incognito. Nobody knows who they are, but they are laughing their asses out of humanity and our stupidity to not working together as they work together. They know how to work together. Unfortunately, they work the worst way. They work by corruption because they know that's a stronger link for them that actually using human bonding. Yes, Venezuela can sustain itself. They were selling oil to the American. That's the sanctions they are creating is more based on oil. Oil, that stuff that was discovered by Rockefeller, another Zionist. It's interesting to see a Zionist discover that mysterious stuff that turned the world around completely. And I saw a theory very interesting about it. They want to extend Israel. That's why they are constantly attacking Palestine and creating these fake wars on Libya, Syria, and trying to go to Iran so they can expand their territory, the greater Israel. Look at that. It's out there. They are so egotistical. They brag about themselves, and people don't pick up those awesome biggest clues they leave with their ego. And God doesn't love egos, you know. That's what you should not feed your ego. Well, 2 hours already. Whoa. And I had a peak, 4 people watching for 3 seconds. Wow. Well, I think I'm going to end this now. 2 hours is enough. I don't want to be that long. So thanks a lot for they want to have Poland. They could already have it, and we don't know about it. The information out there is not very plausible until we start to see more investigative journalism coming out. That's real information. That's what we should look. Okay. Bye. Thanks for the feedback and conversation. I enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it too. See you later. And I'm going to shut this down. So until the next self-destructing video in 1 week, they will be unlisted. So if you want to keep it, add it in your playlist or something. Peace.